listening to it when you sent it to me.
Yeah, I saw you. Good morning, Carlos. I know. Good morning. How you doing?
Good.
Let me. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'll chunk that down there. So happy Friday to you, and it looks like you've got your Chiefs red on. You're ready already for the Chiefs.
I got the Chiefs red on today, and I got my Big Mouth shirt.
So
I got so many brands. So
yeah, I know. So I've got my logo shirt on today with the home loan expert.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
It's backwards if you're looking at yourself.
I know. I'm like, I just figured that out. And I want to get Big Mouth to print some other shirts and some swag. So
the wife's working on your shirts. She's trying to find your shirts.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. We'll get some swag.
We've got a whole marketing folder, brand folder. I think I send you the logos and stuff. So I want to definitely get some swag going from Big Mouth Prints.
That's a Yeti, man.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, so what I wanted to do is start off this morning listening to a little bit of Brian Tracy. We rocked out last week on our guy Zig Ziglar, and I thought we'd listen to a little bit of Brian Tracy this week. This is Self-Made Millionaires, the secrets of self-made millionaires. I'm sure there's some really good tips on following up, and the effects of following up on self-made millionaires. So I thought we'd listen a little bit to this. I dropped the link to the YouTube video in the comments as well. So if for any reason there's someone have a hard time, hearing the audio, whatever, they can go back and listen. But yeah, let's roll it for a couple minutes and listen to it and then kind of talk through some stuff. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Let me rock with it then. Hold on.
And your job is to make sure it goes through yours and some of it sticks. Is that a good goal for today? And my job is to show you how to do it. The good news is that all the answers have been found. Self-made millionaires have put Michael Dell, of course, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, and the Walton family, all first-generation multi-billionaires. We have a $12 trillion economy today that is growing at the rate of $500 to $600 billion a year, and all that money is going through somebody's fingers, and your job is to make sure it goes through yours and some of it sticks. Is that a good goal for today? And my job is to show you how to do it. The good news is that all the answers have been found. Self-made millionaires have been studied exhaustively. They've been analyzed. They've been interviewed by the hundreds of thousands and millions. And what we know is exactly who they are and what they do and how they think and how they tick and the decisions they make and the things that they do and they don't do. And the wonderful thing is this: if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do. Now, some people say, well, I started off without any money and I don't have any money now. Well, join the crowd. Nobody's got any money. Most people are broke up into their 40s and 50s. So if you're broke today, you're just one of the gang. The only question is, do you stay there? And the answer is no. Now, when I started off in this many years ago, I came from very poor beginnings. I did not graduate from high school. I finished in the half of the class that makes the top half possible. When I left school, I dropped out of high school. I could only get laboring jobs. I was told, by the way, if you don't get a good education, you won't do well in life. You don't get good grades, you won't get a good job. You don't go to college, you won't do well, and so on. And I believed that for a long time until I found there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people who dropped out of high school who went on to become millionaires and billionaires as well. And the reason I say that to you, by the way, is don't let it hold you back. Don't let any experience that you've ever had in your life act as a brake on your potential, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who've had it worse than you could ever dream of, who've gone on to accomplish wonderful things. So I worked at laboring jobs for several years. I worked in construction. I worked on farms and ranches. I worked in factories putting nuts on bolts hour after hour. And one day, in a state of frustration, I began asking this question: why is it that some people are more successful than others? Now, in the Bible, there's the line that says, "Seek and ye shall find, for all who seek, findeth. Ask and the door will be open." So I began asking other successful people, what are you doing differently from me? And they told me, and I did it, and I got better results. I got into sales when I could no longer get a laboring job, like many of you. And in sales, I noticed that one of the guys in my company was making 10 times as much as anybody else, and he was selling the same product out of the same office at the same price to the same people under the same conditions, and he was making 10 times as much as anybody else. I went and asked him, what are you doing differently from me? and he told me, and I did it. Now, what I discovered, which changed my life and which brought us here today, is I discovered the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect, sowing and reaping, action and reaction, is the great universal or iron law of the universe. What it says is that everything happens for a reason, is that there are no causeless effects, is that even if we don't know what is causing the effect, we trace it back. It's the basis of the scientific process, of all medical research, of all marketing, of all business, is if you can define an effect that you want, you can trace it back and find somebody who at one time did not have that effect, and then find out what they did, and then do the same things, and you eventually get the same results. We say that success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. Success leaves tracks. So if you just follow the tracks of other successful people, no matter where you're starting from, you eventually get to the same place that they get. Well, this was a shocker for me because, and I learned later in psychology, by the way, that one of the two most important things we need to have to be happy and healthy is a sense of control, a feeling that we are in control of our lives, that things are happening for a reason, and a sense of coherence, a feeling that things fit together. Well, when I realized the law of cause and effect explained everything, I got, wow. So in sales, I went to the top of my sales force. I read and I learned, attended courses, and especially I applied what I learned. And then when I got into sales management, I again read the books and took the courses and asked for advice. And when I got into real estate and importation and development and manufacturing and distribution and a whole series of businesses over the years, the first thing I did is I asked, how does it work? How do people succeed in this field? And then I buried myself and immersed myself. I spent hours and hours and hours studying, and then I did what the most successful people did. Interesting point. We say that nature is neutral. In other words, nature doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you're tall or short or male or female or black or white, educated or uneducated. Nature doesn't care. All that nature cares is that you do what successful people do. It's like making a recipe. Nature doesn't care. You follow a recipe. If you follow the recipe exactly, you get the dish. Nature doesn't care who's doing it. And that's the wonderful thing about our society. It's basically like justice. It's blind, is nature doesn't care. In fact, there are a lot of people who are not as smart and not as talented as you who are doing vastly better than you, not because they're better, but because they're just following proven success methods. There's nothing that will make you madder than to see somebody who's dumber than you, who's making more money than you, right? Have you had that experience? So what we do is we use proven success methods. We just find out what they are, and we do them over and over again. Quick point, nothing works the first time, okay? Please understand that. Nothing works the first time. What is the average number of times that a person tries with a new goal before they give up? Can you guess? Well, the average is less than one, because most people give up before they try even once. They say, that's a great goal. I'd love to be financially independent. And then they give up. They don't even try. They say, but I couldn't because of this and because of that and so on. And then they move away to a wonderful place called Someday I'll. You ever heard of Someday I'll? Someday I'll start saving money. Someday I'll get out of debt. Someday I'll lose weight. Someday I'll start a business. Someday I'll get serious about my finances. And most people live on Someday I'll. Your job and my job is to vote yourself off the island, right? And we start taking control of our lives. Well, about some years ago, I was called by a major businessman, and he asked me if I would do a talk for his 800 entrepreneurs that own separate franchises within his organization on how to become a self-made millionaire. And I said, sure. When you're a young speaker, you agree to speak on any subject. Sure, I'll speak on that subject. And I was just like most people. When I was young, I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And when I hit 30, I put it off to 35. And as I got to 35, you put it off to 40, and then you kind of just don't look at it anymore. You forget about it and feel that the deck is stacked against you. Well, I was about 38, 39 when he called me up and asked me. I said, sure, no problem. And I said, now, what do I know about self-made millionaires? And this is a shocker. I didn't know anything. Oh, I knew that they had more than $1 million. But that's a real basic piece of knowledge, So I started thinking, what do I know about? So I began to study them. And that's when I found out that they've been studied so thoroughly, is we know everything there is to know about them. They are a source of incredible fascination. And there's 50 years of research. So I began to read the studies and find out where they came from and what they did and how they thought and where they started and the decisions they made and the kind of people they were. One of the things that I learned, by the way, is that becoming a self-made millionaire is not the important thing. What is really important is the person you have to become a self-made millionaire. You have to become a totally different human being. One of my friends says that in order to achieve something you've never achieved before, you have to become someone you've never been before. And it's a really important insight, is the qualities that you need to develop, qualities on the inside to become a self-made millionaire, are incredible qualities that make you a vastly better person. Not only better in terms of character, determination, discipline, decision-making, strength, and so on, but they make you a far better person. They round out your character in a far better way. So the real payoff of becoming wealthy is not because you can eat more, because how many more meals can you eat? How many more clothes can you wear? Because it's the kind of person that you become, and then the kind of person, people that you associate with, the kind of life that you have. And so the things that we're going to talk about now, and I know that you're some of the smartest people in our country, so I'm going to give you these ideas very quickly, like dealing cards. What I found in my research is that there's a series of qualities that self-made millionaires have. If you have these qualities, your success is virtually guaranteed. And if you don't have these qualities, the qualities are learnable. Point number one is that all business or sales skills are learnable. All financial skills are learnable. If you can drive a car, you can learn any skill. If you can drive a car, you can learn this skill. And number two is you're probably only one skill away from doubling your income right now. You're probably only one skill away from setting yourself on the road to becoming a self-made millionaire. That turns out to be the case for almost everyone. And if you don't know what that skill is, maybe over the course of the time we spend together, it'll jump out at you. But whatever it is, you've got to find it out and go to work on it, because it is learnable. It's a learnable skill. People say, well, I've never been very good with money. Well, get over it. Fact of the matter is, you can learn what you need to learn to achieve anything that you want to achieve. So the success secrets of self-made millionaires. Give yourself a score of 1 to 10. And if you are weak on one of these, it can be enough to hold you back. If you're strong on all of these, then there's no limit to what you can accomplish. The first is to dream big dreams. Dream big dreams. Practice what is called back from the future thinking and project forward. Develop a vision of yourself as happy, healthy, wealthy, thin. Practice what top people practice, which is what is called idealization. You project forward several years and you imagine that your life is perfect in every way. Imagine that you have no limitations. Imagine that you have all the time and all the money and all the friends and all the contacts and all the education, all the experience, and that you could be or have or do anything you want in life. If you could, what would it be? If your life were perfect in 5 years, what would it look like? How much would you be earning? How much would you be worth? What kind of a family life would you have? What kind of health would you have? What kind of car would you be driving? What would your life be like if you could wave a magic wand and make it perfect in every way? Now, what we have found is this is the starting point of great riches, and it's the starting point of great success in life, is for you to have a dream or a vision of a wonderful future. Here's an exercise that we give people in our audiences, is take a sheet of paper and make up what is called a dream list. Now, imagine this is kind of like the kids' Christmas list, and that it just allows you to just run wild and just write down everything that you could think of that you could possibly want. I had a friend who I taught this to, and he got so excited about it. He bought a spiral notebook, and he began writing and go through the newspaper, and every single thing he saw in the newspaper that was nice, he wrote it down as a goal. He ended up, first time through, with 330 goals. By the end of the month, he had 500 things that he wanted. The interesting thing was that his life exploded. He activated the law of attraction, and he began to attract into his life people, circumstances, ideas, resources, insights. This began to move him toward the accomplishment of the goals, and began to move the goals toward him. Number two is to do what you love to do. Whenever you find people who are really successful in life, they're people who do what they love to do. They love their work. The great rule for success in life is to find something that you love to do, and then find a way to make a living doing it. Now, when you find what you love to do, it'll be something that gives you energy, it motivates you, it enthuses you. It's probably something that you were meant to do from the time you were born. And when you ask self-made millionaires, what sort of work do you do? They'll often say, I've never worked a day in my life. I just do what I like to do. I had a graduate in my course once who came up to me and said, that's interesting. He said, when I was a little boy, I loved to study airplanes. He said, I got airplane books, and I had airplane models, and I had toy planes, and then I got into competitions with remote-controlled planes. He said, when I grew up and went to school, I studied aeronautical engineering. He said, today, I'm 35. He said, I own 3 companies. One builds small aircraft. Another one repairs and services small aircraft. Another one is in leasing and chartering small aircraft. He said, I've never worked a day in my life. He said, I've just played with planes since the time I was a kid. So one of the things that you can do is go back to the time when you were young as a child between the ages of 7 and 14, before you discovered boys or girls, and what is it that you really love to do? And you'll often find that within that is something you're supposed to do as an adult. Number 3 is commit to excellence. Now, this is really, really important, and I had a hard time with this as a young man because I was never good at anything. I was never picked for any team, and if I was picked, I was the first person cut. I got lousy grades in every class. I got fired from multiple jobs. I even got fired from a job pumping gas once. Can you imagine that? Being fired for pumping gas because you're no good. They came out and said, you're no good at pumping gas. How can you be no good? Little old ladies can pump gas. And here I was no good at pumping gas. Anyway, so I got fired. I went from job to job. And then I discovered that all people who are successful are excellent at what they do. You know the old question they asked Willie Sutton, the bank robber, why do you rob banks? He said, well, that's where the money is. Well, being in the top 10% is where the money is. So what you have to do is you have to pay any price and make any sacrifice to get into the top 10% in your field. Now, here's the good news. If you're doing what you love to do, you will want to be in the top 10% in your field. If you don't want to be excellent at what you're doing, it means you're in the wrong field. It just means that you're marking time, you're treading water. And there's a lot of people who are in their field and they do their job and, they go home at night and don't think about their work and so on. And this kind of an attitude means that you have no future. You have a very shaky present. That crackling sound you hear is the ice breaking under your feet, okay? And you have no future because if you're not doing what you love to do and throwing your whole heart into it, you're just marking time. But everybody is designed so that there is something that you love to do that you can do well. And the fact that you love it means that you probably have the ability to excel at it. So make this decision to get into the top 10%. And let me tell you what changed my life. Here I was struggling in my late 20s, and I learned this. It was a breakthrough thought. Is that everybody's in the top 10% started in the bottom 10%. Everybody who's doing well was once doing poorly. Everybody who is at the top of your field today was once not even in your field at all and didn't even know it existed. What that means is that if you're willing to pay the price and work hard and make the sacrifices, you can get into the top 10%. Now, how long does it take? It doesn't take a week or a month. Most people are really impatient. And to achieve mastery in your field takes 5 to 7 years. People say 5 to 7 years. Geez, I'll be 5 to 7 years older before I start enjoying the big rewards. Well, how much older will you be in 5 to 7 years anyway? Now, here's an important point. Are you ready? The time is going to pass anyway. The time is going to pass. 5 to 7 years from now, 5 to 7 years will have passed. The only question is, are you going to be at the top of your field, or are you still going to be down there with the mediocre 80%? And the wonderful thing is this is nobody's better than you and nobody's smarter than you. If anybody else is at the top of their field, it means that you can be at the top of your field. Just go to them and find out how they got there, because they started at the bottom. Now, it may take longer for some people and less for others, but everybody who puts one foot in front of the other and keeps moving eventually gets there. And that's where all the rewards are. And not only that, that's where all the joy in life is. When you're really good at what you do, you feel wonderful about yourself. You're respected and esteemed by everybody around you. You can write your own ticket. You can open any door when you're good at what you do, because you get up in the morning and you know you're good. And that is more important than the rewards that go with it. The next key is to develop your unique talents and abilities. Every single person is designed from infancy with special talents and abilities that, if you develop them to their height, can enable you to accomplish anything you want in life.
What do you think, Carlos? My guy, Brian Tracy. You're muted. I think we got you muted out, Carlos. I think you muted yourself, buddy. There you go.
Yeah, I got it. I think it's awesome. He does it calmly. Everyone else is all pumped up and excited, but he does it calmly, but he tells you like it is.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's just like Zig Ziglar. They're very similar in their simplicity. I think he called it a very simple message. Very simple message.
And they got that. I love that humor. You know what I mean? I love that humor in there, Yeah. But they tell you like it is. It's the truth. Everything that he said in there is the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The simple message that I took away, if you do what other successful people do, you'll get what they have as well. And if you don't know what they're doing, just ask them.
So just like what he said in there, he said people give up, and they try it one time, and I knew it was one. I knew he was going to say it one time, and you know what? They try it for like 1 month. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. People try it. They really give it a whirl. 1 month, they give it, give it all, and then they just start. The next month they start going down and down and down, and then they're like, "No, this ain't going to work." And
he called it someday aisle. He said it turns into someday aisle.
Yeah, don't get in that aisle. Don't get in that aisle. And the biggest part is it's like, people try one time and they don't give it. They don't give it. But I love the fact that he says, and I've learned that as I grew older. I saw rich people and I hung around. You got to influence yourself with people that know what they're doing. Good people. You know what I mean? And the biggest part is I tried doing it on my own. But then I learned, look, if they did it and they have a system and process, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you don't do it on your own. You don't do it your own way. You know what I mean? You do. If there's a system and process out there, that's the reason why he said it exactly. They follow the system and process.
Mm-hmm.
They follow the systems. They follow up with people. They call people. They have systems. They have systems in place. They have. If you don't follow their system, if you want to be like them and you don't follow their system, then you're not going to do it. Because you're going to do it your way, and it's going to, obviously they made it. They did it. They're there. Just follow it.
Yeah. Like he says, ask. Just ask. If you want to know what someone's doing, if someone's very successful, if they're doing very well, just ask. And, I've very seldom ever had someone not share what they're doing. I mean, I think generally people will share. If you ask them, they'll tell you.
I was just about ready to say that. When I was young, I was like, oh, he ain't going to tell me what he does to become a millionaire. He ain't going to tell me what he does to make all that money. He's not going to tell me his tricks and trades. But I guarantee you, majority of 99% of those people out there will tell you how they did it.
Yeah.
Just ask.
Just ask. Yeah.
Just ask.
Steve Jobs talked about that too. He talked about, just asking people. And he said I never forget, he said he called up Bill Hewlett, whatever, the guy from Hewlett Packard. Yeah. He said he's as a high school kid, he called him up and asked him if he can get help with something. And the guy laughed, and then the guy helped him, and then he ended up becoming an intern at Hewlett Packard because he just asked. And he said, generally people will be more than happy to help you if you ask.
Yep. All those people I learned, and that's the thing. And people are like, well, I'm shy or I'm an introvert. You better get out. If you're going to be in sales and you want to make $1 million, you better figure out how to talk and not be shy, because just ask the people. You know what I mean? Just ask. If you ask, you'll get your answers. People, if they're mean and rude, then don't deal with them. But that's why I said you got to find the right people.
Yeah, you got.
But if you can find 5 minutes to ask somebody a question, do it. 10 minutes, do it. Message them, call them, get in front of them, go meet them. And ask. Yeah,
and ask. Yeah, I had just yesterday. Someone reached out to me the day before and asked if I had a couple minutes to chat. They were interested in becoming a loan officer. They were in the business already, but they wanted to become a loan officer, and they wanted to be able to pick my brain. And I said, sure. They hit me on Facebook. I said, sure. They hit me on Wednesday. We talked on Thursday, right? I mean, it only took a few minutes, but they asked, right? And the fact that they asked was all it took. I I wasn't going to say no. I mean, if someone asks, I'm always willing to help, always willing to share. I don't know much, but the little bit that I know, I'd be willing to share. But yeah, I mean, just got to ask. You know, I've heard somewhere someone say that we're a composite of the top 5 people we hang around or associate with. So, you know, if we want to elevate ourselves, we need to probably remember that average. We are an average of the top 5 people that we associate with. You know, whoever we hang around with, most likely is who we're going to become. And that's what our parents told us all along earlier on. You know, watch who you hang with, right? You know, how many times did we hear that as kids? Watch who you hang around with, right?
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. So asking was great. It's great. And then I also like Carlos where he simplified it again one time when he said all skills are learnable and you can learn any skill. You learned how to ride a bike. So anything, we can learn anything, you know?
And some people have experienced that, you know, and they don't think about it. That's just like riding a bike. You just said it exactly right. I mean, that was perfect because people don't realize, look, you learned. And I thought about that this morning. I just thought about it this morning. You learned to ride a bike, right? Okay, so yeah, you had training wheels. Okay, so you didn't fall. But I thought about this today, and I'm glad you said this. People are like, I've had people this week ask me about real estate. They called me up. I was on a call yesterday. I was talking to somebody till midnight on not yesterday, day before yesterday. Somebody till midnight about real estate. 12:30 in the morning. I was talking to him about real estate. And this guy's like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know sales. You know what I mean? I don't know sales. I don't know anything about it. So, and he's like, do I get training? Yeah, you get training. You take all the training that you can get. I'll give any kind of training that you can get. Sales training, I can do that all day long. Yeah. But you got to think, and people don't realize it. And I thought about it because I got a 14-year-old that just started driving. And I'm like, when you drove, did your parents sit here in your car and give you a fake car and train you? Okay, this is the steering wheel. This is pedals. This is, you need to turn, look your head. No, they did not, did they? What did they do? They told you to start driving. Get in the car. Get in the car and start driving. And we learned, what did we do? We learned as we went. We learned as you go. I'm teaching her how to drive as she goes. Just get in and do it. Get behind the car and do it. So that's how you learned how to drive. I guarantee you every single person learned how to drive like that. But they don't realize that it's the same thing in sales. They don't realize it's the same thing in any business that you're out there doing. Get out there and do it. And ask questions and learn as you go.
Yep, absolutely.
If you don't do it, and if you don't do it, you don't make the commitment, and you don't go forward and do it, you're not gonna do it. You need to do it, and you need to do it. You need to move forward. You need to learn. Always be learning.
Yeah, you know? You're right. I learned how to swim. There's 2 ways you learn how to swim. The one way you learn how to swim is you take classes and you get in the pool, but you don't learn how to swim by sitting on the side of the pool. You learn how to swim by getting in the water and learning how to swim, right?
And you swim. And you start kicking.
And you swim, right? You start kicking, right? Yeah. And you can't learn by sitting in the chair on the side of the pool. You got to get in the water, start doing it, just like with the driving piece of it. So you're absolutely right. They're all learnable. You can learn any skill, and you're only one skill away from double your income. I love that. I love that. You know, and for me in my business, one skill is maybe discipline, is maybe dialing, is maybe asking questions, is maybe being persistent, is maybe following. One skill away from doubling our income. One skill.
I told this guy the other day, it's like, my biggest thing is there's people out there right now. There's people out there right now that are promoting. You don't need a cold call anymore. You don't need a cold call to get business.
Yeah.
BS, you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yep. You do. And that's the one thing. And the thing that he says, I believe it 100%, is you got to do what you love.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to love it. You do. But you also got, and when you're doing those things that you love, you got to do things you don't like.
Yep.
So if you don't like making phone calls, you better make phone calls. You got to do things that you don't want to do to enjoy what you love.
Yep.
You know, yep. And so it's just like, I believe that, you know, just getting on the phones, dialing and calling people and following up with people and emailing and then following up with the email, you know, following up with a text. If you text people, follow up with them. You know, it's like I was texting somebody at 7:30 this morning, not thinking anything, but I'm like, oh boy, I just texted somebody at 7:30 this morning. You know, but I had to follow up with it. I was so far behind that I had to follow up with it, and I just happened to send it at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Now I was like, shoot, I shouldn't have done that, but I did just because I knew I needed to follow up. Yeah. You know, I knew I needed to follow up with these people. You know, and you got to follow up and follow up and follow up, and you got to do it either text message, email, or phone calls, but you got to do it. You know,
that's right,
and you got to make that commitment.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. I mean, and the key is that there's a level of success that when we do those things, particularly the things that we maybe don't want to do those first, you know, and that's one of the things that he said successful people do as well. They do the things that maybe they don't want to do, but also if we love what we do, then it's not work and it's not going to be hard, but we'll be able to eventually get over that stuff. You know, we'll be able to get over it. So the last thing I wanted to kind of just speak to real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here in a couple minutes. But he talked about a number of things like dreaming big dreams, doing what you love to do, what you just mentioned, commitment to excellence. I love the commitment to excellence. That to me has been the message that has resonated most with me, is a commitment to excellence. It is so frustrating when you're working with people who don't have a commitment to excellence. They have a commitment to the paycheck, but they don't have a commitment to excellence. And it is so easy and evident to see that. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that I see it. I've seen it these last couple of months. You know, I've seen people come in and said to me that I want to do this. I want to do this. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, we got 19, 20-year-olds that are coming to me and saying, I want to do real estate. I want to do this. I want to do this. And then they're nowhere to be found.
Right.
But you're not committed. You have to be committed to excellence. You have to be, it's the commitment. When you find a relationship, what are you doing? You're making a commitment. You know, when you find a girl or a guy, you're making a commitment. When you get married, you're making a commitment. You're making a commitment to live that marriage the rest of your life. That's the right person you want to, that's a big commitment. Yeah. It's like sales, it's like business. You gotta make a commitment to excellence. You gotta be committed to grow.
Yep, absolutely. We have to, that commitment helps us get in the top 10% of our field. It helps us achieve and master in our field, you know, and we have to remember no one's smarter, no one's better. You know, I loved how he talked about, you know, the guy who's dumber than you are makes more money. Why? Because he's committed. He's committed to learning what he needs to learn and doing what he needs to do in order to be successful. And he doesn't need to be that smart. He doesn't need to be that pretty. He doesn't need to be that handsome. He doesn't need, you know what I mean? He doesn't need to be the skinniest guy or the fattest guy. He's just committed to what his objective is, and he's willing to do what he has to do to make it happen. Commitment to excellence and achieving mastery in our field. We can't do anything without recognizing that we have to be committed to being good, to being great, to being great. We have to be committed to it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love your doing it first because it's just like anything. I mean, people don't realize that it's so much life. That's why I told you last time when I was learning sales, I did it in my life.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to teach my kids for 5-10 years is they absolutely do not like vegetables. So how do you teach your kid to eat vegetables?
Yeah.
Eat it first.
Eat it first. Yeah.
You know, you got vegetables on your plate. Eat it first. That's and right. Then eat the steak. And then eat the tacos. And then, you know what I mean? Then eat the stuff that you love. But your mom's making you eat your vegetables. You're going to eat your vegetables, eat them first.
Yeah,
I always tell them, because you want to live, you want that, when you're done eating, you want that wonderful taste that you love in your mouth last.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So eat your vegetables first, then get that other stuff that you love. Get it out of the way. When I get vegetables when she puts them on my plate too, I absolutely do not like them. I'm going to chow down those vegetables first and be like, oh, gross. Then I'm going to eat my good food and enjoy it.
That's awesome, Carlos. That's wonderful. That's a great takeout right there. Eat our veggies first and finish with what I mean? Last. Yes.
So do the things you don't like first.
Yeah.
Make those phone calls first. I told this agent that I was talking to at 12:30, this guy that wants to be an agent. 12:30 in the morning, I'm telling him, you got to make phone calls. You just make phone calls and you call people and you get return phone calls. That's just one thing that you have to do to build this business, and you're going to get something out of it.
Yep.
You might not like doing phone calls, but if you do that first thing that you don't like to do, you'll get something out of it. And that's the only thing, if you just do that, you'll get something out of the business.
Yep.
Because people will start calling you back.
Yeah, they will. You're right. That's the whole method of chopping early or chopping consistently. Remember, we talked with our guy. Our guy said he would pick his times a day. He'd do it around lunchtime. He'd do it in the evening. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter when you do it, as long as you do it. And the success will follow. So good stuff, man. Well, I got to jump off here. It's 10:02, and it's Friday. I gotta follow up. I got to get back to watching this video during lunchtime so I can watch the rest of the other 30 minutes or so, because last week, I think it was last week, where I said I need to start daily increasing my information intake early on. And I've started doing that, and I feel much better. I also feel like I'm getting myself back to the point to where I'm continuing to master and commit to excellence because of the information that I'm bringing in that first part of the day. So my hour of power.
Yep. In the morning, if you want to do that. I do it all the time now. I'm doing it ever since we started doing this here. I'm doing it every day, every minute, everywhere I'm doing. Like I'll be doing emails and working here, and I don't have to watch the video. I don't have to watch them standing there.
Right.
I just need to sit there and listen. So that instead of nothing playing, I'm listening to that. I'm always listening to something. I get in the car, I'm listening. I start to take a shower, I'm listening. I'm always listening every day. I've been starting that ever since we started doing this again.
Brian Tracy calls our cars a university on wheels. He has called it that since the beginning of his messages about achievement. He said in our cars, which is the same thing now in our offices, and it's even easier in 2021 because our phones can get anything, right? But when he first said that, it was back when you had to have cassette tapes or CDs, and he said we should be always learning, like you just said, Carlos, and we should turn our car into a university on wheels.
Yep. Put
something on and listen to it. And listen to it while you're driving around. A university on wheels. So, you know what? There's no excuses. There's no excuse. We can learn anything we want to learn. Are we committed to it? Are we committed to it? You know what I mean?
Be committed.
So
commit.
Yeah. Yeah. Eat your veggies first.
That's right. Eat your veggies first. Commit to those relationships. If you find a girl, commit to her. If you find a guy, commit to him. Commit to sales. Commit to excellence. Commit yourself.
That's right. Hey, we're out. Happy Friday to you, my friend. Enjoy the weekend. We can talk later today if you want to. Let's chop it up on that marketing stuff.
Yep, that's fine.
I'm around. I'll be free after about 11:30. I'll be free.
Okay.
We'll see you, man.
See ya.
Bye-bye.